If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. Kurt Warner, a name that echoes through NFL history as one of the greatest to ever play the quarterback. Position made headlines this week with some eye-opening comments about Cleveland Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Appearing on the Jim Rome show, Warner didn't hold back in his praise for the young signal caller, calling him the most accurate quarterback in this year's draft class. Let that sink in. That's not just any compliment, it's coming from a Hall of Famer, a Super Bowl champion, and one of the best evaluators a quarterback play the game has seen. And yet, despite all this talent, Sanders somehow fell all the way to the 5th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. It's the kind of slide that would devastate many prospects, but Shedeur seems to be using it as fuel. The league may have slept on him, but Warner's words could be the wake-up call the NFL didn't know it needed. When Warner speaks about quarterbacks, people listen. This isn't just a guy throwing out takes for attention. This is someone who's lived it, who's climbed from bagging groceries to hoisting a Lombardi trophy. So when he says Shedeur Sanders has elite accuracy when he's set and delivering from the pocket, that's more than just flattery. That's a breakdown of mechanics, poise, and field vision. Warner specifically pointed out that when Sanders is comfortable, the ball goes where he wants it to go. That's quarterbacking 101. That's the kind of precision that separates game managers from game changers. And for Browns fans hungry for a franchise QB, hearing Warner speak with that kind of confidence about Sanders is music to their ears. The question now becomes, can the Browns unlock that potential and give Shedeur the environment to thrive? It's easy to look at a 5th round pick and assume he's a project, a developmental guy meant to sit behind veterans and maybe, just maybe, get a shot down the line. But Warner is challenging that narrative. He doesn't believe Sanders should have been a day 3 pick. In fact, based solely on film, Warner argues Shedeur had really good things on tape, enough to warrant a higher selection. So why the slide? Was it concerns about his competition level at Colorado? Was it his connection to Deion, Sanders, and the media circus that often follows? Or was it simply a case of NFL teams overthinking things yet again? Whatever the reason, Warner's evaluation is turning heads and could end up looking prophetic if Sanders earns a chance and delivers on his potential in Cleveland. Of course, Warner also pointed out that Sanders isn't perfect, and that's fair. He's a rookie. No one's expecting him to walk in and look like Patrick Mahomes. But there's a big difference between having areas to improve and being unworthy of a shot. Warner acknowledged that Shedeur has work to do, just like any young quarterback entering the league. The NFL game is faster, the defenses are smarter, and the pressure is relentless. Still, what separates successful quarterbacks is their ability to adapt, grow, and rise to the moment. Warner seems to believe that Shedeur has that within him. It's a belief rooted in tape study, not hype or headlines, and that makes it all the more compelling. The situation in Cleveland is fascinating right now. This isn't a team with a locked-in starter. Instead, they're heading into the 2025 season with a 4-man quarterback competition that could go in any number of directions. You've got Joe Flacco, the veteran gunslinger who's seen it all and still has a cannon for an arm at 40. Then there's Kenny Pickett, a former 1st-round pick who's looking to revive his career after a turbulent run in Pittsburgh. Rookie Dillon Gabriel, another intriguing draft pick, brings athleticism and college success to the mix. And then there's Shedeur Sanders, perhaps the most polarizing of them all, but also the one with the biggest chip on his shoulder. This QB room is stacked, and it's going to be must-see football as the battle unfolds in training camp. It's rare to have this kind of uncertainty and excitement at the quarterback position, but that's exactly what Cleveland fans are getting this offseason. And with Warner throwing his support behind Sanders, it's only going to amplify the spotlight. Fans, analysts, and coaches alike will be watching every throw, every rep, every decision. Sanders doesn't just have to compete, he has to prove he belongs. But if Warner's right, and the accuracy, poise, and mechanics translate, then Shedeur could do more than just win the starting job. He could change the trajectory of the Browns franchise. That's a big if, of course, but it's one. That's starting to feel a little more realistic thanks to Warner's bold assessment. What makes this story even more compelling is the emotional layer to it. Shedeur Sanders isn't just trying to make it in the NFL. He's trying to prove he's more than just Deion's son. That kind of legacy can be both a blessing and a burden. The spotlight is brighter, the scrutiny is harsher, and the expectations are sky high. But Shedeur has carried himself with remarkable poise through it all. He didn't lash out after sliding in the draft. He didn't play the victim. Instead, he's put his head down and gone to work, ready to prove that the league made a mistake. That mentality, that drive, it's exactly what Warner saw on tape, and it's why he's betting on Shedeur's success. Meanwhile, the Browns organization faces a pivotal year. They've invested heavily in building a competitive roster, but the quarterback position has remained a revolving door. For a team looking to finally turn the corner, finding stability under center is crucial. And while it may seem risky to entrust that task to a fifth-round rookie, sometimes the best stories in football come from the most unlikely places. Just ask Warner himself. He knows a thing or two about being underestimated. If Shedeur follows that same path, it won't be long before the entire NFL is paying attention. And Warner's comments might be looked back on not as a hot take, but as the first clue to a breakout star in the making. We've seen this movie before. A young quarterback overlooked by the experts, dismissed by the draft process, and doubted by the league, only to rise above it all and carve out a legendary career. Could Shedeur Sanders be the next chapter in that story? It's far too early to say, but the pieces are there. He has the arm, the accuracy, the football IQ, and now he has the endorsement of a Hall of Famer who's been exactly where he is now. All that's left is opportunity. If the Browns give him a real shot, and if Sanders seizes it, we could be witnessing the beginning of something special. And with Cleveland's passionate fan base behind him, the city might finally have the quarterback it's been waiting decades for. So as we gear up for training camp and the 2025 NFL season, keep your eyes on Cleveland. The quarterback competition is going to be intense. The stakes are sky high, and Shedeur Sanders is right in the middle of it all. Whether he wins the job or not, his journey is one worth watching. Because if Kurt Warner is right, and let's be honest, he usually is, then we might just be watching the rise of a star who was overlooked, underestimated, and now ready to prove the entire league wrong. And if that happens, the Browns' 5th round steal could become the NFL's next big headline. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. In what can only be described as one of the most shocking moves in recent NFL memory, a new rumor has emerged that could completely flip the league on its head. Aaron Rodgers is reportedly leaving the New York Jets and has signed with the Cleveland Browns. That's right, you heard that correctly. The future Hall of Famer, who just a year ago was the centerpiece of a blockbuster trade to the Jets, is now allegedly headed to Cleveland in a move that no one, literally no one, saw coming. We're still piecing together the details, but sources close to the situation say Rodgers has had enough of the dysfunction in New York and wants a fresh start yet again. But why the Browns? What does this mean for Deshaun Watson? And how did we even get here so fast? Buckle up, because we're breaking this wild story down, piece by unbelievable piece. Let's rewind a little. Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP, longtime Green Bay Packer, left Titletown for the bright lights of New York in 2023 with sky-high expectations. The Jets thought they had finally found their savior, a quarterback with the pedigree, the leadership, and the arm to take them back to the promised land. But then came the nightmare. Just 4 snaps into his debut game, Rodgers tore his Achilles, season ending, just like that. And while he made headlines trying to rehab faster than anyone thought possible, it was clear the season had already unraveled. The Jets spiraled. Zach Wilson couldn't fill the void. The offensive line was a mess. And all that preseason hype, gone. The Jets missed the playoffs again. So now, just 1 season later, Rodgers wants out. That's not just shocking, it's historic. And the fact that he might land in Cleveland? That's where this story gets really crazy. Because let's be honest here, when you think of ideal landing spots for a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, Cleveland probably doesn't make the top 5, maybe not even the top 10. But if this rumor holds any truth, it means Rodgers sees something in that organization that we haven't seen in years. Or just maybe, is less about what Cleveland offers and more about what the Jets couldn't. Sources say Rodgers has grown increasingly frustrated with the Jets' front office, particularly around personnel decisions and the offensive game plan. There was also reported tension with head coach Robert Saleh and offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Yes, the same Hackett he practically demanded the Jets hire. Now, if Rodgers is done with the Jets after just one season, it paints a picture of deep discontent. And let's not forget, he's always been a guy who moves on when he feels disrespected. That might be exactly what happened here. Now, the Cleveland Browns, a team that has been through more quarterback drama than any franchise in recent memory. From Baker Mayfield to Johnny Manziel to the controversial Deshaun Watson era, it's been a revolving door under center. But despite all that noise, Cleveland has quietly built one of the league's most balanced rosters. A top 5 defense, led by the monstrous Myles Garrett, a punishing ground game with Nick Chubb, and one of the best offensive lines in football. Add to that a passionate, die-hard fan base that's been starving, absolutely starving for a winner. And maybe, just maybe, you can start to see why Rodgers would consider it. At Feedwell, she's 41 years old. He's not looking for a rebuild. He wants to win now. And if the Browns are indeed moving on from Watson, and that's a whole conversation in itself, Rodgers could step into a situation ready-made for a deep playoff run. The next big question is obvious. What happens to Deshaun Watson? The Browns gave up a fortune. 3 first-round picks and over $230 million guaranteed to bring him in amid massive controversy. Since then, his performance has been, let's be honest, underwhelming. Injuries, inconsistency, and off-field baggage have all plagued his time in Cleveland. If the Browns are truly done with him, it would mark one of the biggest financial flops in NFL history. But here's the twist. Rumors suggest they might be willing to eat some of that massive contract to get Rodgers in the building. That's how badly they want to win. And if Rodgers delivers even one deep playoff run, or heaven forbid a Super Bowl appearance, it might all be worth it. It's risky, it's bold, but in the cutthroat world of the NFL, sometimes bold is exactly what you need, especially when you're chasing a legacy that's been denied for decades. And let's not underestimate the Rodgers factor. When he's healthy and locked in, he's still one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the game. His accuracy, poise under pressure, and ability to make throws few humans on earth can replicate make him a game changer. Think about it. With a defense like Cleveland's, he wouldn't have to carry the whole load. He could manage the game, strike when needed, and let the Browns' physical style of play do the rest. It's almost the exact opposite of what he had to do in Green Bay during his final years. There, he had to be Superman every single week. In Cleveland, he could be the wise general leading a disciplined army. And let's not forget the narrative angle. What a story it would be for Rodgers to go from Broadway bust to Cleveland king. The media would eat it up and fans across the league would be glued to every snap. Of course, this is all still a rumor at this stage, but it's a rumor that has legs. League insiders are saying there's been quiet movement behind the scenes. Travel. Logs show Rodgers was in Ohio last week. The Browns front office has been unusually tight-lipped. And Jets executives? They've gone radio silent. No confirmations, no denials. That kind of silence usually speaks volumes. It feels like the kind of story that's too strange to be made up. And for those wondering about Rodgers' mindset, just remember, this is a guy who has never been afraid to take the unconventional route. From darkness retreats to public battles with team executives to showing up on podcasts dropping cryptic hints, he's always marched to the beat of his own drum. So if anyone would shock the league by going to Cleveland of all places, it's Aaron Rodgers. The guy is a walking plot twist. But let's not pretend the road ahead would be easy. The AFC North is a battlefield. You got Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and a Steelers team that's always tough. If Rodgers thinks he's walking into an easy situation, he's in for a rude awakening, but maybe that's part of the appeal. Rodgers has always thrived when doubted. He loves proving people wrong. And what better place to do that than in Cleveland, a franchise whose last championship was before the Super Bowl even existed. If he were to take the Browns deep into January, or somehow win it all, it would instantly cement his legacy in a way few could imagine. Forget the one-ring talk. He'd be the guy who brought Cleveland a title. That's the stuff legends are made of. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what Rodgers is chasing at this stage of his career. Meanwhile, the fallout in New York would be seismic. Jets fans who thought they finally had their quarterback mess solved would be left stunned and betrayed. The front office would face massive pressure. Ownership would be forced to answer tough questions. And worst of all, they'd be back at square one, still searching for the quarterback who can lift this cursed franchise out of the abyss. Maybe they try again in the draft. Maybe they go after another veteran. But replacing a player like Rodgers? That's no small task. And the locker room? That could implode. Players bought into Rodgers as a leader. Losing him, especially under mysterious circumstances, could fracture team chemistry for years to come. It's a nightmare scenario, plain and simple. And it all hinges on whether or not this stunning rumor becomes reality. The NFL offseason just got a whole lot more dramatic, and we're here for every second of it. So what happens next? As of now, we wait. The next 48 hours could be crucial. If Rodgers really is heading to Cleveland, we'll likely start seeing leaks, confirmations, maybe even a press conference. Until then, it's all speculation, but the kind of speculation that sets the sports world on fire. And that's what makes the NFL so endlessly entertaining. Just when you think the offseason is quieting down, boom! Aaron Rodgers out of nowhere, possibly headed to the Dawg Pound. Keep your alerts on, stay tuned, and make sure you're subscribed. Because if this deal becomes official, we'll be breaking it all down right here with every wild twist, every juicy detail, and every unbelievable moment. This is football theater at its finest, and Rodgers once again is playing the leading role. From Green Bay to New York, and now maybe Cleveland? The NFL scriptwriters are working overtime, and we're loving every second. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you like the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!